Technics isn't known for speakers.
Right.
If it was a turntable, I don't know if you're recording it.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if you should do that.
okay, well,
I
basically,
don't know what our official word is on
the Technics, well, Pete has the Technics speaker. You're a fan of it, obviously,
Yeah,
being
we
from
can talk. We can talk. I can't give you any official
Okay.
word
Gotcha.
on why they're discontinued or anything, but you know, they were kind of expensive. Actually, this is fine. You know, the $27,000 a pair. They were
Hard to,
just amazing engineering. You know, coaxial design, the materials they used, the cabinetry was painstakingly done in
The
what they
finish is
call
unbelievable. It looks
it's layers.
It looks like it's a $90,000 speaker. And Jason had heard him at 3MA in
Yeah.
Houston. Pitted against Magic Group, which are $70,000?
yeah, direct comparison to the Rockport Cygnus, I thought I liked it, significantly better at a lesser cost.
Yeah, well, I've never done a lot of A/B comparisons because these things are so big to move around and things like that. But in all the presentations we've made, I never doubted that we needed anything more than that to get our point across. When we demonstrated we also had an amplifier and a network.
We might want to turn.
DAC preamp.
Might want to turn down a little bit.
And at that time, that was our reference class. So that amplifier was huge. I don't know if you remember that. But it was like a giant version of that, and then you had the network DAC. And together they made a preamp amp combination, and those were the speakers to go with it. And at that time, we didn't have a turntable when we introduced that. That was the first adventure back for Techniques Rediscover Music. So that was like a $60,000 system altogether, and it was way above its head, for that kind of money. It was an incredible value at the time too. And it's 300 watts of channel into those 4-ohm speakers, and as a presentation for the complete system, we were only doing digital when we first brought that out to CES. So later on, when we brought the SL1000 turntable there, and we put it on that system, it was just, to hear vinyl through that whole playback system, just amazing.
That's great.
The digital was already pristine, and just to hear that. So at the moment, we don't have a speaker like that. We have a speaker called the SBG90 M2, if you ever want to give those a listen. Our dealers have those, and it's a $6,000 speaker, similar in size to this, maybe, and it's a beautiful gloss black cabinet, and a coaxial tweeter mid-range, and dual active woofer, I shouldn't say active, dual woofers, and they're ported and they fit in a nice small footprint, and for $6,000 a pair, they're just amazing sounding speakers. Usually we would demo our system with those these days, but this is Overture's room, Overture
Audio.
Delaware.
Okay.
And they have our reference integrated amp, our Grand Class CD networking player, and they have our 1200G, which is the flagship in the Grand Class.
I think this is Pete's next turntable.
Yeah, this is the table I'm going to be purchasing.
And I think JR is a big fan of this one as well. One thing that people don't realize is that I'm a big fan of Techniques that you've got now, what is almost a collector's item speaker because they're not making it anymore. But they are able to do stuff at economies of scale that smaller companies would be $40,000 instead of $4,000.
Right.
And the electronics as well. I've been very impressed with Techniques re-entry into the audiophile realm with that speaker and the electronics, and you get a lot of value because you do have the economies of scale of Techniques, who's owned by Panasonic. Is it Panasonic?
Panasonic's our parent company.
Okay, so you've
always
got
been part of Panasonic. A lot of people wonder if we went away and then someone bought the company and brought it back, but we never, we've always been part of Panasonic.
This is, from what I understand, this is the best-selling high-end turntable in the world, right?
Well, if you consider the heritage of it, it came out originally in 1972. So Techniques invented direct drive in 1970, and in 72 they brought it more to the masses with a 1200. And from there on, it was the 1200 series became a 1200 Mark II in 79, Mark III, Mark IV, Mark V, and then we kind of went away and we came back. But before we went away, the rumor was 3 to 4 million turntables in the 1200 series. It's hard to believe. I don't know. We don't have an official figure, but and when we came back, this is the turntable that we came back with. This is the 1200G, and I could show you the motor that's inside that thing. This is all of about 39 pounds, and it has a coreless direct drive motor at that price. At the time we brought it out in 2016, and the only other coreless direct drive in the market was like $40,000. So it was really welcomed by the audiophile community. And the it has a twin rotor coreless direct drive motor. It has a 3-layer platter with a brass layer on top, die-cast aluminum platter, and like a rubberized bottom to that, and it's hand balanced. It has I think it's a 5 or 7 mil thick top plate of aluminum die-cast. So it's a four-layer chassis, 3-layer platter, 4-layer chassis, and very heavyweight and dense zinc footers. If you want to get an idea,
Wow.
how heavy those are.
That's heavy.
And there's a gel,
Yeah.
a silicone gel in here that
To help
absorbs
dampen, okay.
horizontally and vertically. So it's
And
built
the-
from the top down. It has a high
And
quality.
the beauty
dust
is
cover.
that this unscrews and you can have shells with different cartridges and you can change them on the fly,
I
correct?
don't have them here today, I guess. Yeah, in 5 seconds, if I have the right
That's amazing.
match of cartridge, as long as it's the same height and weight, I can change on the, literally in
So
5
you can go
seconds.
from
Yeah, as long as the tracking area isn't
Right.
that much
So you can
off.
go from a mono cartridge to a stereo cartridge in seconds.
That's what's in this bag. I'm gonna go take care of, I gotta do a cartridge transplant for one of my other
Transplant,
dealers, but,
okay.
that's the ease and that's the benefit of it, and, you might like it set up for different, geometries and things like that. There's a lot of reasons that interchangeable head shells are great. So, yeah, and, this is the $4,300 model. We just came out with a new model called SL1200 GR2, which has the same feature package, same experience. And this GR2 just launched it last month. It's in the other room in black, and it's $2,200. And we've added, this is what we call the Gen 3, believe it or not, of Technics direct drive. That SP10 in 1970 was Gen 1. Gen 2 was the quartz lock era in '79. And Gen 3 is this, when we came back with these coreless. So Gen 4 is this new one in the other room. You won't see much of a difference when you look at it, but underneath there's a new digital technology. The whole idea with this coreless direct drive is to remove micro vibrations from the equation so that they don't vibrate the platter and possibly cause any kind of, and these are micro vibrations, by the way, if you haven't heard about this story. But, it's not like the platter's vibrating or anything like that. And so we wanted to remove that from the equation. That was the idea of the coreless motor. But we found a way in that mid-level model to improve that even more. So we have this thing called a Delta Sigma motor drive, and it's digital technology working on an analog product. Same thing, this has digital technology to control the speed. This is the next level called the Delta Sigma technology, and we improved the power supply in that to a power supply that we borrowed technology from the SL1000, the flagship turntable. And together you have this, it's a very quiet presentation. When you listen to this, it's just, you really hear into the sound stage more. This is my interpretation of it, a little better placement of instruments. You're gonna hear improvements in, if you change a cartridge, if you change some cables, things like that. I think you're gonna appreciate that. And
With
for that
these-
price point, it's not, you're not gonna get what the G gives you, but you're gonna really have a great,
What is the price point of this one?
so this is $4,300 for the G,
SL
and it comes in
1200G.
black or silver.
Black or
It's
silver.
fully black
Okay.
or fully
If
silver.
you wanted to, I'm not saying that I would, but if you wanted to, without damaging the unit, could you scratch? Like a DJ? On these?
There are world-renowned DJs that bought a pair of these when they first came
Oh,
out.
wow.
When we first
So the answer is
introduced
yes.
it,
Okay.
when we first introduced it, it was known as a GAE Anniversary Edition, and there were only 1,200 in the world.
Wow.
And there's a number on it. It says I'm number
Okay.
1 of 1,200. Somebody has number 1 of 1,200.
Okay.
And I wouldn't necessarily drag them around to clubs or anything
Yeah, right,
like that.
right.
Plus, they weigh a lot more too, and they're worth a lot more. So, I know that they're using it, but they're different than the DJ tables. Because they're audiophiles tables, they have a little bit of sway horizontally and vertically, and DJs don't really.
No, they don't
want
care about
need
that.
you know.
Yep.
Solid.
So after a while, we made a DJ turntable for them called the SL1200 Mark 7.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's $1,100, and it's a lot more
Perfect,
affordable,
yeah.
and it goes, it plays in reverse.
Oh, wow.
If you wanted to, it has ability to change the illumination.
Okay.
It's not a hinged dust cover and things like that, but it's horses for courses. It's made for that use, and everybody loves that.
I like playing my albums backwards anyway, so I might need that one. Well, that's cool. Yeah.
So that's our claim to fame, but a lot of people are really catching on to what we're doing in digital.
Right. People shouldn't sleep on the amplification. If you want
This is
gauges,
incredible.
I think that Techniques over Macintosh, in my opinion, is the way to go.
If I may mention that, you guys may not know, but this is a fully digital amplifier.
Yeah,
It's not,
alright.
it's not a typical amplifier. Not
Right.
too many companies are doing what we're doing, so it's a lot of people immediately think Class D, and that's not for me, but it's not Class D. And D doesn't necessarily mean a digital. So it's a fully digital amplifier in Technics' own design. So when you have this amplifier, there's so much going on besides the typical uses for an integrated amplifier. It has a function called LAPC, Load Adaptive Phase Calibration, that learns how to drive the loudspeaker to its best ability. It learns electrical characteristics in terms of gain and phase, and when you take 90 seconds out of your life to push a button, it does it for you, and you can either turn it on, turn it off. You're not
very
married to it,
advanced.
It's
Yeah.
a great feature, and to my knowledge, there's no way to even do that with ancillary equipment,
Yeah.
with Class A/D or typical amplifiers. So that's just one product, because anytime a digital signal is going to hit this amplifier, it's going to remain digital through the entire process.
Okay.
There's no convergence from digital to analog. So
Okay.
and it has these GaN FETs that you've heard about.
Okay, yeah, gallium
stage.
nitride, yeah.
We brought that out in the very first amplifier, pretty much as far as I know. Maybe one of the first companies to do that in 2015. So this is
Yeah, that was well
trickled down.
before others have now since done gallium nitride, but yeah.
That's having Panasonic as our parent didn't hurt us.
No, that's what people
You know,
shouldn't
the
overlook. I
technology.
mean, they think of the word Techniques and they think of the legacy receivers and stuff
Right.
that, actually still, I just listened to one, a vintage receiver, sounded great. But this is a whole new level that's coming out within the turntable. You're at pretty much near end game at 4,300. Yeah.
And this has a $2,000 cartridge in it, so when you listen to this, I'd be happy to play something for you. It's an
Cool.
incredible presentation. And what you'd be hearing is you'd be hearing the digital amplifier rendition, which did its magic on the speakers. But you'd also be hearing what I just described for the speakers. It does a similar arrangement for the phono cartridge.
Oh, cool.
So you connect a phono cartridge to your phono preamp, and you whatever the specifications are, it plays it. But with this, it learns. You put a test record on the turntable, and the amplifier will do a little computation, and it'll set the cartridge up for this phono preamp, and it'll also remove crosstalk. It has a crosstalk canceller.
Oh wow.
So
Oh,
you're getting that. When you hear this, you're going to hear all the magic from the analog port of the record, but you're going to hear the digital magic of the amplifier. And a lot of people listen to this, they just say, "Cam, that vinyl is just amazing, isn't it?" They say, "Yep." But you heard essentially a digital picture of that vinyl, because we immediately, as I mentioned, we keep the digital bit stream pristine, and we never convert anything. But when an analog signal hits the amplifier, it's immediately converted to digital, and that's where all this other processing happens. And when people hear that, it's just amazing what you just did. I haven't lost anything. I've maybe improved it by that. So once we have that signal, it goes through a 2496 analog to digital converter, and then everything can be processed by the amplifier fully digital until it leaves. So
What is the price point on the
it's a
amplifier?
$10,000 integrated.
Okay.
And all the stuff comes in silver or black. It looks
Okay.
good, either one. And that's pretty much and there's 7 EQ curves. If you guys have an old
Yep,
record
yep.
collection, at a touch of a button, you have 7 EQ curves.
Okay, cool.
And you
Well,
can
we-
turn all those features on or off and compare if you wanted to. If
Right.
you don't like it, you don't have to.
That's good. You can bypass whatever.
And
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, this with those R1 speakers, I've actually never heard it, but I would imagine that with the R1 speakers would be some incredible
Yeah.
combination. And because it has A and B speaker outputs, so you can run the A to the highs and the Bs to the
Nice.
lows. And run that LAPC, and I'm just
Awesome.
dying to hear that someday. I've only heard it with a big amplifier. And this is the SLG 700M2. This is the newest version of our CD-SACD networking DAC.
Okay.
So with or without a Technics amp, it does everything I mentioned, plus it starts with internet radio, podcast, Spotify, Tidal, Deezer, Qobuz, Amazon. It's a Google Chromecast reach, so there's 200 more sites. Plus,
And how much is that piece?
It's 3,500 retail.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it's got a real CD drawer in it, and it plays SACDs, and it has XLR outputs for your lineouts get the best sound from the SACDs. It has coax in, optical in, PC in, USB in. You can plug. USB drives into it. It's so flexible. So a guy that has a typical integrated amp that can use all the similar digital benefits, that you get from our amplifier in that player. So
Well, we're going to definitely come back and listen. We have to go up to Edgar's room real quick, but yeah, we'll come back and listen.
it's great to meet you. I
Okay.
always wanted to reach out to you and say
Okay,
hello.
well, yeah, thank you.
Maybe if you edit a little bit that beginning, I was kind of sloppy there at the beginning.
I don't edit anything. we like
sloppy.
sloppy. It's okay. No, it's great.
But thank
Fine.
you guys.
Okay, thank you. Great meeting
Come
you.
back and we'll play some music.
All right.
If you go down to